welcome to another episode of What's Going On with Shaun, a variety podcast grounded in marketing, but with an appetite for quality conversations about things that make life worth living. Time is precious, so thanks for tuning in today as we find out what's going on with
Dave Spannhake. How are you, my friend?
Hey, good. Great to see you.
It's good to see you too, man. I think the thing that we have to, the biggest elephant in the room right now is Texas Ranger fan. You are a Texas Ranger fan, a big one.
Yeah, that's right.
You went to a World Series game. Was it game one?
Game one. Yeah, game one. Came back 2 runs down, bottom of the ninth. Corey Seager home run to tie. Dolis Garcia to win in the bottom of the 11th. Set the stage for the championship.
It was awesome. So awesome. How did your kids react, or which of your kids cared the most?
I mean, this is nice because, I mean, the Rangers have not been good in a while, right? So they're always wondering why I'm buying the baseball package, and and Daddy's just never happy watching baseball kind of thing. And then this year they've been just, I mean, you can feel it back. I think you and I talked early season, like this team feels special. So we watched so many games this year, and I think the kids probably watched with me like 60, 70 different regular season games, and then every game in the playoffs. And so like they've turned into, they understand why I'm so into baseball and how powerful it can be. And then the World Series game one with my dad and my oldest being there at the game, some generational pictures there, and the happiness, it was electric is an understatement, I think.
I love that, man. I love that memory that you get to share with your dad and with your son. Just a really cool thing. I know a lot of people don't geek out about baseball, and for the audience, whether you're listening or watching or both, we're not going to talk about baseball this whole episode, but we had to start with it because Dave and I are both Texas Ranger fans, and we have bonded over Texas Rangers stuff, Josh Hamilton days, all that. I think that was probably those teams, probably maybe the 09, 10, 11 teams were probably some of the first times that you and I were even becoming friends and knowing each other.
Yeah. I mean, the World Series this year certainly makes up for that heartbreaker in 2011. That's about as big of a heartbreaker in all of sports. And I remember us both really being like, oh, wow, did that happen? Did that really happen just now?
Yeah. I got to tell you, it's one of those things that I know a lot of people in life are like, sport ball or whatever. And it's easy to think, well, all things sports are trivial. But I hope those same people that are like, come on, it's not that big of a deal, also can appreciate those family storylines where it's like, yeah, but your little boy just loves baseball and he loves the Rangers. That's my story. When my son was old enough to recognize, well, what's going to be his favorite sport and what did he personally play the longest, it was baseball. I coached him for almost 7 years, but big Ranger fan. We've gone to lots of Ranger games and absolutely felt the heartbreak of 2010. 2011 was the worst. It was so bad. And then to see now my son's 25 and married, to see him on, we were FaceTime because my wife's a huge Ranger baseball fan too. We were FaceTiming during the game. And so when they won, my son's just going crazy in his house with his wife, and just my daughter was actually over at their place too. He started crying tears of joy. And I know some people are like, well, that's kind of silly, but it's just a thing that kind of a bond that it just made me really happy. And in a world of a lot of unhappiness, the world is just full of so much evil and unhappiness these days. The World Series win by the Rangers, your story, my own story, I love those because it gives you a little bit of a light sometimes in the darkness over something that it's a simple game, but it's also packs a lot of joy for people when things like that happen. And first time ever in their history to win super cool.
It just brings back your whole life of being a fan into one celebration. You're not just celebrating this year, you're celebrating all the bonding and all the family and all the memories over time. That's what sports really is. No.
Well, hey, what I want to talk to you about is recently I've noticed a couple of it's almost like lamenting a bit on your LinkedIn posts is where I had seen them. And these are specific to what's going on with Google. And so there's probably a lot of people that will tune into this episode that know who you are and know who your company is, Reunion Marketing. But you're the founder and CEO at Reunion Marketing, and you provide an array of digital marketing services to a couple of different verticals. But you've always been significantly involved in the automotive industry. And there have been some, let's just say, some severe service drops from the Google side that is having, unfortunately, probably the worst effect on dealers that you provide services for. So I wanted to talk about that today. And the first thing I wanted to ask a little bit about is, can you just kind of give a bit of an overview of how Google support kind of evolved for you guys, and then over these years related to the auto industry, how things have changed, what's happened over there, what's causing some of this, to as much as you understand, like just a bit of an overview so people kind of understand what we're going to start to dig into.
Sure. And I feel like I've got a pretty strong understanding now of the landscape. And fortunately, I've had a lot of people reach out with perspective and also just thanks for being loud about some of this. So, I mean, we've been loud because we feel like we've been backed into a corner to some extent because the support has gotten that bad. And so I guess a little bit of perspective, Google has made a lot of changes over the last several years, a lot of them to automate more. And, in the name of some of the privacy legislation and some tech rules like iOS 14.5 that have come into place that have just kind of required them to change some of the way in which they're doing things that limits some of their capabilities they used to have. But at the same time, because of that automation, they pulled back a lot of the support at the beginning of, last year, or the last couple of years, there's been some drops in support and some layoffs. But this year, I think it was January, 12,000 people laid off. And so we've always had really great support. We were Google Premier Partners for a long time. We stopped being, and are proud to have stopped being, during the period of time in which inventory dropped so much. So instead of the year-over-year growth and spend that is a requirement for that, they didn't drop that requirement. So we told them, well, we're not going to be recommending to our dealers to spend more money when they have less vehicles. That doesn't make sense. We offer the right thing for dealers to do. If you have a quarter of the inventory you used to have, you shouldn't be spending more budget. You should be spending less. Right. And so we stopped being premier partners. In fact, that's a pride point for us at Reunion, because if that was the reason we didn't get it. And so we were able to go back to our partners and proudly proclaim we are not premier partners anymore because of this. And so I think that's actually a pride point for us. But then this past year, we've been part of the automotive. There's a whole automotive team over there that's been decimated, where we lost our rep. We now have about 30 different people across all of our stores that we have to reach out to, a different person for every store. That's changed significantly. And unfortunately, even within that environment, the people, the mapping of those across all the people that are supposed to be appointed to each of our different clients. And, we have, as you know, a lot of different dealers. It was never fully mapped out. So, we have to go through different support tickets. We will wait weeks to get answers on things. And one of the biggest unfortunate thing that's happened for us recently that's really caused a lot of significant headache is that we earlier in the year went through a verification process for ourselves, which I think makes a lot of sense to prove that we are Reunion over the MCC and an agency of record, even though we've been an agency of record with them for years and years and years. So went through that process, but now individual dealers need to go through and verify themselves as well. Even dealers who have been advertising on Google for years or decades, and with Reunion for, upwards of 8 years, having to go through this process. And through that process, the people even on the support team that are all, it's a whole different type of person. They're not as much experience, typically, not able to help us because the verification team is fully siloed outside of them. So we will get denied a verification. We will not be told why that verification was denied. We provide, business licenses and invoices and all sorts of different records and material. And so what happens is, you have 7 days to do it. Or they have 7 days to return. You have 30 days to get it all verified. But what's happened is the support has gotten so bad that we started a process a month ago, 30 days ago, and they never get to that point where they verify this, or they'll reject it, and we have no one to talk to say, okay, what else do we need? We're giving you all this information. And then, so at this point, we've had, I believe, 17 of our advertisers have just been paused at different points. Right now, there's currently 7 accounts that are paused, and there's no one to talk to get them unpaused. And there's
when
no,
they pause, isn't this money that Google could be making, right? I mean, does Google make more money anywhere else other than paid search, display, YouTube? Like, that's where they make all their money, right?
yeah, 95%, right, or whatever that number is these days.
So, any thoughts on, why would they leave, especially with somebody who's been a long-standing partner with them? If you achieved premier partner status even once, I'll just, say it for people in this audience that some people know this, some people don't know this. There's a whole process to become a Google partner. So when you see that badge, I think some people still put it on their website as if they are one and they're not. And then if they get in trouble or if somebody rats them out, then they have to take it down. So people will try to go and, copy the logo. But there's a legitimate process to becoming a Google partner and then a premier partner. And I think the minimum threshold is that you have to be maintaining $10,000 a month in spend to be a partner. But to be a premier partner, it's not, $10,000 doesn't even make vapor, right?
Top 3%.
You have to be in the top 3% of the entire vertical. So, all you kids at home, what do you think the top 3% of companies serving Google's advertising products through their agencies, what do you think the top 3% are running through their agencies? It's tens and tens of millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. That's what I put on LinkedIn. I put that number up there. Reunion's invested $62.5 million on Google, and we can't get someone on the phone to help us out with support here. Hearing my voice, probably. I mean, I'm really upset about it. Right? And
I know you personally, so I know that you are. I know that your righteous indignation, your being upset about it, your emotion around it is twofold, right? It's one, it's like, Google, we've been such a great partners together and working together for years, right? This isn't a new thing. And secondly, I rely on you guys and your ad platform, which I still tell people all the time. There isn't a better ad platform that's ever been made in mankind's history, period, ever. Like, Metas is fine. It's all great. It's good. LinkedIn has a great ad platform. You can talk about the TikTok or whatever. But Google's ad platform is literally the best. So I understand that. I think your pain points come from Google. Why? Like, it doesn't seem to logically make sense. But it's probably 50% that, maybe it's 49 and 51%. We have clients that we provide a certain level of service to that they have come to expect, and we care about them, and you're making it impossible for us to help them.
Real people, real small businesses are affected here. We're coming up on Thanksgiving, we're coming up on Christmas, and having your Google Ads account in this marketplace turned off with no ability to turn it on and no urgency behind it, just a complete apathy around being able to get it back on. You're affecting Christmas bonuses. You're affecting families. I mean, so many families. I know if it's just our clients who have been affected and turned off. I mean, this is real people that are being affected. And Google's, again, I use the word apathy because that's what it is. And you mentioned, I mean, we've had some great partners at Google, some great people there helping us. A lot of them no longer working there during the layoffs, unfortunately, but it's always been so good. And the stark contrast between the great support and the great help we've experienced for years. And now it's, I mean, this is not just a reunion thing. I mean, it's been so encouraging to hear. I mean, just the support from people who have said, thanks for standing up. Thanks for being loud. Thanks for going out there and saying this. And just dozens of agencies reaching out and sharing that they're experiencing the exact same thing, the exact same lack of support. And so, I mean, like, it has to make me think there's got to be tens of thousands of small businesses that are just out of the marketplace. And when Google, what's the quote? Because, I've been saying this, you can't have a monopoly on the marketplace and then not get fair access to that marketplace. That's exactly what people are feeling. If you aren't able to spend money on Google right now, you can't compete with some of your competitors. This is a marketplace that they own. And so they are literally having an impact on families and people and small businesses. These small businesses can't come up and do anything about. And it does bring some emotion out because it's infuriating that just think of all the money they've lost with these pauses right now, that they could hire support people to come in and help just with that money. More than enough. I mean,
Yeah, it it it's worthy. The whole topic and all of what's going on is worthy of a lot of deep thought and discussion. So getting loud because people want answers. You and I both have a long history of utilizing Google's ad platform, formerly AdWords, Google Ads, over many years in previous businesses before you started Reunion. And I think there's a lot of detail relative to how Google's AdWords, Google Ads works, and all these things. I wouldn't be able to guess what the percentage of, let's just talk car dealer clients know this, but I know some do. Google has made changes. They always do make changes and upgrades to various things. Probably the most recent thing that people have been feeling more pain points probably with as a Google product has been GA4. But the Google Ads platform over the last several years has had really big, significant upgrades, right? And when those things happen,
maybe I would say changes, upgrades.
Yeah, well, but okay, so we'll call them changes, and we'll say that they're significant, and they're always there's two sides to the coin when these changes get made, and I want to talk about one of them where say in their own language, it's literally on their own documentation at support.google, where they talk about you to become a partner, to become a premier partner, there are performance standards, right? You have to maintain, or you don't get to be a partner or a premier partner. And specifically in their own language around performance, they talk about the optimization score. Now, many, many years ago, for all of us that have been slugging through Google AdWords for many, many moons, there used to be well, what's your optimization score? When they started to build an optimization score, part of it for, I think, more of the lay person that's not really going to go deep, they're realizing, well, this is a way kind of at the surface for Google to say, out of a potential of 100%, you're optimized at 64%. And here are specific things that you can do to raise that score. This is a pretty, to me, elementary way to help somebody understand, oh, this is just do what we say and it'll help. But they don't always know that, well, if you're a car dealer and doing what we say, it may not be the right time for you to turn on this particular component. It may not be that activating search partners is a good idea for you. But the reason why I'm belaboring this point a little bit is because in Google's own language, they talk about your partners. If you want to be a Google partner, you have to have an optimization score of at least 70%, right? And They go on to say that you're in control with the ability to apply or dismiss recommendations based on your assessment and your client's goals. What they don't go on to say here is that if Reunion Marketing or any of our other friends that offer these services from Google's ad platform, if they decide, no, it's in the best interest of our clients' goals to not activate search partners or not to run search ads in the display network or whatever, there's a long list of these things. When you know from the history of being able to customize campaigns that this is going to yield the best results, Google basically says that you have the ability to apply or dismiss, but they don't go on to say, but if you dismiss a bunch of those things and we just disagree for whatever reason, that they could be penalizing not just the agency that's trying to, but more importantly, the advertiser, even if that advertiser knows their industry much better than Google does. I mean,
yeah,
isn't that kind of I don't know, almost you got to do it our way or else. There is no other way.
That's what they're doing within the platform. So, I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that will work entirely within the platform, and they have lost a lot of control. I've talked about this several times, that to regain control, there's got to be things that are done outside the platform that are things that are done at the company level, additional software or tech or process or data manipulation, inventory manipulation, a lot of things that you can do to make things better. But it's absolutely moving towards that. The OptiScore thing, I've seen them, paying $100 to agencies to just automatically accept every OptiScore recommendation. And that's something that if you go look at search engine land or just go on Twitter and just look for those things, you'll see examples all over the place, which is I mean, of course, the response to that has been very negative because a lot of those app score recommendations include some things you said, add search partners. Well, some of them we see all the time, just add keywords. I mean, that's not how you allocate budget. If you're managing Google Ads well for your partners, it's all about budget allocation. Where is your money going the furthest? Where is it creating the greatest return for you? And so as Google continues to create more of an environment where things are automated and everything is spent everywhere equally, and add more keywords, add dynamic images, add search partners, it's always raise money. It's never lower money. So, I mean, it reminds me of back when I was buying a lot of cable back in my media buyer days, many moons ago, many gray hairs ago. If we just said, all right, hey, Time Warner Cable or Spectrum, just go ahead and spend all of our money however you best want to spend it. We would just show up 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. And the same thing is happening here. Things like Performance Max ads. We recommend people do those. Especially with VLAs now, there's things to manipulate before you provide the feed that you'd want to do to create the right kind of ROI for, on a per vehicle basis and those kind of things. But we know before the VLAs came in that we want to be on the maps. We have people looking for, Honda dealership near me or Honda dealership in Raleigh or whatever. The only way to show up in the maps or local pack with any kind of advertising is going to be through PMax. And it used to be where you could just buy that through easier ways. But now that means you're also buying ads on the apps you have to spend, and you have to buy, certain apps on or certain ads on Gmail and on YouTube. So you have to spend everywhere. So they're taking that money and putting it everywhere, but it's the only way you can do those kind of ads. And again, it's like if they were doing it in their best interest, they would allow you to pick and choose, and we would put all of our money in those areas and not where in the 90% of the placements going to mobile apps for one account we were just looking at. And it's like nothing's happening in mobile apps. Those are accidental clicks. We've seen so many case studies of that. We've experienced so many case studies of that outside of Google, but it's again just automation and taking control away. And so, I mean, it's just not in their best interest to benefit companies that are focused on budget allocation and the best return for partners. That's probably a big reason why, we're not getting the time of day, and agencies like us are not getting the time of day, because our focus is on what's in the best interest of our partners and not Google. Google is, but we do care about them. Their platform's great. Like you said, there's a lot of good things. It's just they've gotten away from their "don't be evil" mantra, and instead it's just all one-sided. Instead of being out there and pro small business and creating a great opportunity for everybody to go in and take part in the economy and the marketplace that exists within the framework, that whole everything that they were founded on has changed so dramatically and so quickly that it is. It gets me fired up as you can tell. It's unacceptable, but. I hope that this is not the way it always will be from now on, but this might be just the beginning of how they now are all about Google and not all about their partners and advertisers.
If you think about the beginning of Google AdWords, you go back to late year 2000, I think. And I wasn't messing around with Google AdWords probably until, I'm going to guess, 2001 might have been the earliest, maybe 2002. And at that time, it was a gold rush, right? So for Google, you and I have had these conversations before, because people like us remember those days when Google, I don't even know if you can find it in search results now, probably not. When AdWords first came out to the market, it was all kind of agencies or consultants that knew how to learn the platform would use that to go start a little business, and I can help small businesses run all this stuff. Now, it was also, hey, if you're a small business owner, you can, SMBs was like, everyone was always talking about SMBs when I ran the auto division for Reach Local. SMBs, and dealers are small to medium-sized businesses. So most car dealers, not all, but most of them are not going to take their Google ads in-house. Large dealer groups, some of them that have built up agencies inside and doing it, I would be really interested. In fact, I hope if any people that work for Berkshire or any of the ones that have taken, I know for years, AMSI did some stuff in-house for years. I would love it if anybody at the group level, and I don't know how many of you probably have a better read on this, But if you're listening and you work with any of those agencies that do this in-house for your large group, would love to know if you're starting to feel these pain points and if you're getting the same level of service and support, because I think we need to know also the truth if Google is actually providing this support now inside of large dealer groups, or if there are other things going on with any of the management companies, because some of these companies, right, they get through the RFP process and selected to be in managed digital services websites. Everybody knows about all the management programs. So I'm not going to mention any of their names, not good or bad. I'm just saying that if you're in those, that's also a factor where I think we need transparency to know, well, where is Google providing still automotive support? Is it happening only with vendors that are now inside of the programs? Is it happening for any of the large groups that have agency models built inside of their groups? Is there any other connection directly at the OEM level? I think that needs to be known. I think that's a fair thing to be known, because if they're going to withdraw
Yeah, a little
support.
on that, Shaun, and that's. I mean, I'm not going to name any names because people have reached out to me in confidence about this, but I mean, it feels like the threshold is about probably the companies that have about 1,000 client partners, or not quite half that, just for perspective. But that seem to have that, they're all in the OEM programs, and then website companies. And I know that there's like 3 different large dealer groups that are 20 to 30 range that do their SEM in house, who have echoed the same exact frustrations that we're experiencing here too. So I don't know about the ones that like Berkshire Hathaway or Lithia or any of those. I believe Lithia outsources there still too, but it's. I mean, I know that the large dealer groups bring it in house are not getting that, and the nice thing is, at least misery loves company. Maybe, I mean, to some extent, it's a lot of other companies that are our size or maybe a little bit smaller have reached out and are experiencing the exact same thing, and all companies that people listening have all heard of, well-known companies within the space that are saying, yeah, we're experiencing the same thing. Thanks for being loud about it. Thanks for, glad that someone has finally reached, talking about how big of a roadblock and how frustrating it is that there's no ability to fix some of this stuff. But it is happening everywhere across our ecosystem. And what's so great about automotive is that 2 of these larger companies, I'm not going to again say which 2, reached out and said, hey, Dave, how can I help you? How can I help Reunion? 2 just friends of mine. I mean, you could say competitors, but I mean, I think I don't look at just great people and great companies as competitors. I think we're all out there helping dealers. I look at them as friends.
There's a lot of friendly activity for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and so it's so encouraging to me that people are so willing to help. It would be great if Google could follow that same kind of mindset, right? And that's
yeah. Well, it's cumbersome to go and identify all of the premier partners in automotive. They don't make that easy anymore, but you can. I mean, Google still posts all of their premier partners. I think there's a little less than 3,000 of them currently when you look that up. And I won't, just for the sake of people not reading into something that isn't there to read in the first place, I'm not going to name companies either. But I know a handful of ones that are still listed as premier partners. My guess is that if they're still a premier partner, they still are getting some sort of support. I will also tell you, and it's a good thing I'm not naming names, because some of those companies that are premier partners, the technical term for the kind of paid search results they get, in my technical terms, would be dog shit. It's not good.
For what that was going to be.
It's like, are you kidding me? You got to be you have to be kidding me. Companies that I have personally audited, or people on my teams that I've had over previous years audited and found, like, are you kidding? It's blatant theft, because the dealer is expecting that they can trust their partner. But the reality is there are people that are at the premier partner status level that literally do such dog shit paid search, really, that it's criminal, and yet that isn't punished. Like, there's no consequence for that, which is crazy. Yeah. But I wanted to go back to a thought. When AdWords first dropped, it was this gold rush, and really from the Google perspective too, right? We just came up with the most brilliant advertising platform based on our massively successful search engine, right? Super smart. I love it. Great. Everyone wants to jump in. Every business, no matter how small you are. Like, if I get some ads running on these search results, the search engine that 99% of all people use, my phone's going to ring. I'm going to figure these things out. So you had small businesses that were run by people who either were a little bit tech savvy. So like, yeah, I'll get in and mess with this kind of thing. They're managing their own website, putting something up on Angel Fire or GeoCities or any of the old school stuff way back then, doing crazy stuff, but just trying to figure out this on their own. And then Google was a very big proponent. They starting up like a little agency, or if you could start a business, including they would recommend, well, how much you should mark up, right? Because nobody knew. What should we do? If I'm going to put $500 a month into your new Google ad machine, well, how much should I charge the client for it? And back those days, they'd be like, you should take $500 in budget and charge $500 a month, right? And then they'd be like, okay, you should charge half of that, like 50%, $250. So all of these margins, and I lived through the margin stuff when Reach Local went public and everybody started coming after us.
Yeah,
right?
I remember that. Yep.
People were really mad, but they didn't understand the mathematics behind, okay, well, Reach Local didn't just serve the auto industry, it served every vertical. And there were 3 in particular that were so massive, automotive being one of them, that being a premier partner back in that day, there was also like a kickback, a rebate, or whatever. And the more you spent, the larger that percentage could grow. Google has said that they've done away with all of that within Premier Partners. I don't know if I trust that they have or not, but I haven't been able to.
I know that when we were Premier Partners, and and actually, I don't even know if we regained our status. We lost it last year by not spending enough, but we were Premier Partners for years. We were never part of that program, so not even all Premier Partners were. There was just certain scales, and I believe that all went away in 2020.
Okay, let's just assume that completely went away. But so from starting point, I know this is hard to do, but timeline of AdWords comes on the scene. It's a gold rush. For Google, it's, hey, we built something that every small business is going to want to jump in. So every car dealer, you should jump in this. The reality was, yeah, you should, because all the people are in this pond called Google searching for all kinds of stuff, and you want to serve ads to those people. Okay, makes sense. So everybody jumps into that. But you go over time, you're going to reach a point of saturation in the market, right? How many new franchise dealers are added into the United States of America's dealer body every single year, right? It's not thousands, right? So when that number doesn't particularly grow massively, well, you have a finite number of businesses in a particular vertical like that, retail automotive, that at some point in time, you're going to reach okay, now what do we do?
Everyone, right?
Yeah. And of course, they got to that point in automotive a long time ago. But they didn't get to a point where they were like, how do we need to maybe make some and this is me, Micah theories, opinion theory. I think that they, over the last several years, were already recognizing that their preference was going to be that the more boutique, white glove, whatever you want to call it, more hands-on agencies that really know their ad platform and can really squeeze the most juice out of it for their clients, that ultimately one day those people were not going to be the ones that they needed to most cater to, because it will become in direct conflict with
actually, right?
Exactly. So the reality that Google would want to say, yes, we want you to use our platform to get results that embarrass the people who might be in these coveted programs or whatever, or even people who are premier partners. And now your badge is worthless because I can go to somebody who's not even a partner and they can, for the same money or less, get me a whole lot more using the exact same ad platform. That became a reality a long time ago, years ago. The great versus the good versus the you're just barely even not trying. That became a highlighted issue several years ago, but in my estimation, it's only grown more painful to where, not trying to be necessarily sympathetic to Google, but it flies in the face of their own objectives for growth, for profitability, for right. They're a business as well. And I think that that's where we are now. And these are kind of the pain points that we've been feeling them for a little while. And now it's breaking wide open to where, again, just my opinion, I don't think Google cares. I think there's a part of them, like the humans involved there, that know you, that know your people. They're like, I really want to be able to help, but they can't because,
Those people.
yeah, Google as a company recognizes that, if all of these agencies that are capable of getting the best results go away, it doesn't mean that all those people that are advertised with those agencies are going to go away. They're going to go into these other providers. They're going to.
Well, I'd say, well, I mean, I love that thought. I think one of the things that they are not considering, in my opinion, here, as you talk through, is the reputation risk that is happening with this support and all these automations and all the things that are happening to where Google used to say something and it was doctrine, it was trust. I mean, everyone said Google said this and that's true. I mean, and they were, you go to any conference, any show, and then Google's there, and it's like, yes, what they say matters. And now they're moving to this environment where, because of that lack of support, that feeling that destroys trust. I mean, and you have that reputation, take that hit, that damage. People are not going to trust. Well, just let's put our money in here and then let it go. And there are more avenues for money happening now. I mean, heck, all of these people right now that are paused, that money's going somewhere else, and that money is being felt in other areas. I mean, there's a lot of ways to spend money and advertise, and so there's a giant reputation risk. I think that, I mean, it might not be a risk anymore. I think that they may be taking forever permanent damage with how they're going about this.
Yeah, I think that's the case. How much they really care about that is a good question. I don't even know. Is it still in their mission statement? Don't do evil. I thought they removed it a while ago.
No, I think it's not anymore. But that was, I mean, that's who they were. I mean, that's what everyone loved them. I mean, it's really sad. It's really sad that it's changed this dramatically.
Yeah, because if I mean, it's plausible that they know that if they eliminate the agencies that can get best results, and that would be defined by those that literally, in class, the results they get for the same budget spent are better, and those results would be, conversion related events, right? You're helping them get true sales opportunities, true service opportunities, true business opportunities that they can be tracked all the way through to say, yeah, man, totally worth it. And if you can get more of that for your client at a lower cost, okay, so you're one of the best agencies. Doesn't make you a premier partner, doesn't make you a regular Google partner, just means that you're really good and you know the platform. If, again, like, hey, we're going to eliminate all of those types of agencies, because essentially it feels like the direction they would be in or okay with. It is kind of a way of moving all of that business to more profitable providers, right? And you can't think they're too smart. You think that wouldn't be part of their logic, right? Of like, well, if we do this, that's going to force all that paid search business from those places to go to the other ones that are out there, and all of those other ones that are like Google says, do it our way, right? This is the way you're going to do it. That's where they want everyone, all the dealers, to spend their money with. And you and I won't mention names again. I won't even mention the event, but we were at the same event year before the pandemic, I think. And somebody from Google was speaking at that event. And I want to say it was the first slide. If it wasn't the first slide, it was right up at the front. And that slide said something that I felt was kind of ripped off from evangelical Christians, like let go and let God, if you've ever heard that statement. But it said, let go and let Google. And since seeing that slide, which made me really like cringy, like, oh, please, like, I want to be able to always say, and I think you probably do too, I'd like your perspective on this. I always want to be able to say, yeah, what Google's saying is, yes, you can trust it. Okay, here's a few other elements. If you have experience, a lot of it, like you probably need to know these two, some of this nuance and variation as well. But yeah, they're on point. And I think you want to be able to do that and be an advocate for, because they do have such an amazing platform, but figure out how to let advertisers know that there's always kind of more to the story. Because one of the things that I think, and I'd like you to respond to this, ultimately, I don't think that Google has ever been equipped and never wanted to be equipped to be able to answer direct questions really from anybody, but specifically in automotive vertical, any smart, savvy dealers, and there are many of them, that they do their homework. And then they'll go to events where somebody from Google, the automotive team, I don't know, they're probably not doing this so much anymore, maybe at all, but they would be asked direct questions. And I have seen this more times than I can count. Small events, large events, you name it, where a specific question gets asked and those people are not capable of answering those questions. What's going on right now, I think, will further exacerbate the frustration levels, not just from people like you that own agencies that have traditionally been doing a great job for your clients, but then the clients are going to be like, hey, what's up? And they're going to ask questions. And when you talk about eroding confidence, that trust factor, do you think that that's plausible, like that whole scenario? Or is it already happening?
I think it's already happening. I mean, I'm not seeing that exactly. And it's like, this is an environment that's going to not ever the best results for advertiser. I mean, I just have a single scenario where any company has ever said, hey, just give me your money and we'll put it in the best possible area. I mean, can you imagine, go into a restaurant, hey, here's $100, just bring me out whatever is, I just like some food. And then I'm not getting what I would want to get if I'm, picking my own order.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not the right way to about doing things. And so as they've said, trust us, they've read your ability for all sorts of advertisers to say, well, we know that these get us the most phone calls, the most phone calls by far in the maps. Now it's with you have to also buy all this other stuff too. We know that these campaigns are going to give us the best results. Well, but you have to bundle it in. I mean, it's like they are to some extent manipulate the revenue streams, for the sake of shareholders. Perhaps I'm not going to say exactly why, but they're doing all these things that are creating automations that are limiting the ability to put the money where it's going to best deliver. And they trust us. We'll spend your money for you. The best mentality has never worked before, and I mean it's showing right now that it's absolutely not working now the same way. A lot of KPIs that have allowed dealers to mathematically go through and create the best results have been taken out of the equation for anyone using tech-enabled services to logic around like the levers that will hit the point of diminishing return and then go to the next best place. I mean, and there's a lot of mathematical things that not possible the same way anymore. And there's no reason for them to have taken those away except for, well, the budget doesn't have to be as large now if you're spending it in the best way and you're hitting that point of diminishing return. And so, lots of cases of that. I mean, in the name of privacy sometimes, but it goes well beyond any privacy legislation mandates or needs.
Yeah, man, there's just so many pieces to this. I mean, as I was kind of sharing about it starts with a gold rush. Let's get everybody on the platform. Everyone's going, okay, it's great. And then it matures. The industry matures. You reach a point of saturation. And once you get there, and this again happened many years ago, then it's like, well, how do we increase budget, right? And part of that was the same way that website providers used to, like, how are we going to increase revenues? Well, let's start offering paid search and SEO and all the stuff that we're not that good at, right? And then we'll have to staff up for it and all that kind of stuff. They did all that because it created immediate low-hanging fruit, right? You already have like 2,000 people using your website or 3,000 or whatever it is, and now we get to go to every single one of them with specific sales-based initiatives right? Google did that by saying, well, now we have a display network, right? Now, well, they bought YouTube many years ago, obviously, but hey, we're going to open up advertising now on YouTube, and now we're going to have Gmail and apps and Android environment, all these, just tons of stuff, which a lot of people don't realize that sometimes what is happening, actually all the time that's happening now, is Google has wanted to make the ads platform really to use. I don't know if they still do this because I'm just not in there frequently, but I know that they had made even a down, almost like the Google Ads for Dummies, although it was called like Smart Campaign, Smart Search, Smart Display, all that. Where it was, hey, I'm a local florist, right? Or I'm a local plumber and I can't afford to hire some company to, I'm going to do it myself. They want to make it easy for people like that. That version of going into Google Ads, if somebody like you or me or some of our peers would see that, would be like, yes, it will make your phone ring. Yes, you will get some value from it. You could get a lot more from it, right? If you knew how to optimize the campaign within deeper level settings. And again, I don't know if this is still the case, but if you signed up for that version of an account, you didn't even have access to the other parts of Google Ads platform to go do all those things, even if you learned how to do it. So you could literally go through all their certifications and like, oh, I got some more knowledge. I want to go try these things. And you could be in well, now I'd have to start over a brand new account that isn't, the baby food version. I'm ready to eat steak. Sorry. And do you know if that's still the case with still offer that, like just simplified?
I believe they still do. I mean, that's, we manage any of those, but I believe that that's still the case.
Yeah. So, for dealers, really anybody that doesn't some of those kind of behind the scenes, it would be, I think, really important for them just to understand that kind of in context. The is every dealer, almost all businesses should be doing some mix of digital advertising through Google's platform, and everybody is going to be a little different. There are similarities that develop within car dealerships, but there are also similarities based on how big is the market of your car dealership is in, or what brand are you, right? You might have a completely different strategy for a brand whose inventory levels have come back faster than the brand that didn't, so on and so on. Yep. But with all this amount of variation and dealers not really knowing, even if you're not a reunion marketing client, your agency might very well likely be suffering through all of this. And you may not know why, and you need to know why, right? There's a whole lot going on. Google wants, obviously, to do the best they can and make the most money that they can. But that might very well be at the expense of making it impossible, which they are doing right now, for companies like yours to get people even just through the basics of verification.
Yeah. Companies who have been advertisers for years. So it's not like verifying first time. It's another just good, I think, thing to keep top of mind. These are not companies who have just started advertising on Google either, right?
Yeah, you've been working with Google for, a long time.
Yeah. Well, even these companies, even though you can change, to a new provider, and you're still, if you're transferring over your ads account, dealers should own their account. And transferring that over, you're still having to go through and do a verification on something you might have been advertising on for the last 5 or 6 years or more in some cases. And that's
can you share, maybe you shared a little bit about this, but the current state, just share a little bit of the current state of your partners, your clients, and their campaigns that are currently paused, kind of pending verification. What's the kind of current state? Just all dead in the water?
It's just completely turned off. There's, and those are the kind of things where it's, why did Google not create a probation period or something? Turning off completely on Google is a direct disruption of the marketplace, especially in hyper-competitive environments like auto, where allocation for years is contingent on selling enough cars within a 30-day window. There's some of the variables within our industry are being, it's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable if it's a mom and pop store doing it themselves for $500 too, not to be just turned off of and excluded from a marketplace that is currently under antitrust discussions, right? That's the kind of marketplace that we're talking about right now. Just samples, and this is not all of our clients. This is just, fortunately, just a smaller percentage, and not everyone. But it's, if it was one, I would be, just as angry. Unfortunately, it's impacted 17 of our clients. One of them has been turned off, for almost 2 months. Some of them, we began the verification process for, it was October, I believe, 7th, and then turned off since the 9th, I think is what that was. Plus or minus a day or two. I don't know if I've had those dates exactly right, but then more than a month going through the verification process, rejected with no explanation. Offering invoices, the actual business license, everything you need to be confident that this is a true advert. It's preposterous. I've looked at every bit of Because I mean, as a CEO, I'm going to get down and dirty and make sure that we're doing everything right. And I've looked at all of it, and it is everything they need to be able to know that we are legitimate businesses. And then with complete apathy, well, nope, rejected, no explanation, no one to talk to. You're not going to talk to the verification team. Well, who in the world is the decision that's impacting this many people? And especially, I mean, it makes it worse for me. I mean, emotionally, I think, because it's around the holidays, and this is the time when I mean, so many families, it feels even more affected because of the time of year. But it's infuriating, and the fact that they just are unwilling or unable to help, and feign letters of that no solutions, and there's no one to talk to. And we feel like we're cornered. So, I mean, I really appreciate you being loud about this also, and voice for wrong about all of this and this whole situation. I think more people need to be loud about it. I think more pushback needs to happen. I think Google needs to just listen, because it is probably forever at least hurt. But I mean, this is where people start. If you start losing the love, and they had love for so long, but you start losing love because of that apathy, then that's where companies begin taking that dive bomb. And at some point in the future, it may not be now, but when people are looking for reasons to leave you because you don't care about them, that's what they're doing.
I'm a bit that I'm cynical and how different brand is from there. But for me, I would love it if Google really cared about their reputation after they've set a precedent with a vertical, and the agencies that help those, in this case, car dealers. I feel like they have a duty to, like, well, more so than if you don't care about your reputation. I think that conversations like this are important because we need to be asking questions, and Google needs to provide answers for those questions. If the answer truly is, listen, our own profitability, our own growth, all of these things that are important to us because we are a business as well, are way more important than any of the other verticals that we provide our services through agencies into, then say that. But say it in a way that is thoughtful, that says, this is kind of a major fundamental change, and also maybe come up with some solutions around, well, how do you make a transition? I don't know what those things are, but I really think that the burden of understanding, or a gained understanding and knowledge, is on them to share more. And everything you're saying about these experiences happening, in fact, tell me the contrast between what's going on with verification now, what was it used to be? Like, the standard would be, it took how long?
I mean, so a lot of this is just a brand new process. So, I mean, the timing of it is actually pretty awful too. Like, dump all your support and then create a process that isn't. I mean,
so verification wasn't a thing a year ago.
I mean, not like this. No, I mean, so yeah, we went through a round of agency verification about a year ago, and that was a process, and we got everyone up. So I mean, like, we had to go through that across the board for our clients. And this is a brand new process that's just come out within the past couple of months, where it's on the individual business to also, showcase that they are, it's all a result of Cambridge Analytica. We're ahead of an election, I mean, I think there's probably timing to make sure that they're safeguarding themselves to some extent. But the rollout has been terribly timed around the layoffs and the complete lack of support, and the rules around it, where they just cut off any access to the marketplace, is why, I mean, one of the reasons why they are in antitrust discussions with our government right now. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, you just made me think of something. So you said there were 17 or 18 originally that hadn't gone through verification or hadn't made it through it.
Yes. Yep.
Of the total number, how many, including the ones that are still waiting, but how many of them did not have Google business profiles?
Oh, they all had them.
So guess what? I'm very familiar with the fact that you have to verify your business when you're going to set up a Google business profile. If they all are already verified as businesses through Google business profile.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is an extra layer of verification that's unnecessary. So every one of these is connected to Google Ads and GBP, which all the GBPs have had that go through verification as well.
So why would they need an extra layer of verification when they're already verified to have already an existing Google service, a Google business profile? Why? What verification do they need for that?
It's wild. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But at the very least, just shutting off access is, yeah, to your point, I haven't even thought of that as a point, but every one of these you have to go through and prove that you are a location. You go through the old postcard method, or you go through some of the newer, easier methods to verification or to prove that you are who you say you are. But if all those, and they all are, you have to be tied to Google Ads to be able to run things like performance.
I think somebody needs to ask Google that question, right? So you have a verification process to verify that a business is legitimate to have a Google business profile, because there's a lot of things, a lot of dynamics and nuance of a Google business profile that, if done correctly, helps you tremendously just from a local organic search perspective. Why do you need more verification than your own service for these dealers? Like what, and literally, like seriously, what additional information is needed for to literally turn on something that starts to make you ad revenue?
Yeah.
It almost seems like, why would you add an extra step when, if all of these businesses already had a Google business profile, that you would just have a query in your own tech that would say, we already know they're verified because they have a Google business profile. Check, move along. And then you wouldn't have 18, 17, 7 still sitting there. They're already done. I think that's a question for Google to give us some insight on. Like, what that?
Great point. That's a really good point. I mean, it actually has me at a loss for words a little bit, now thinking about that, because it makes this feel even more unnecessary. Right.
Yeah. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Like it's just, so if you had a magic wand and you could just be like, hey, this is what, if you wanted to fix the problem, or you wanted to say, hey, this is what Google should do to kind of rectify what's going on, what would that be? Is there a simple fix? Is there a, what would you say? Like, hey, if I could just fix what's going on right now, boom, do this, Google.
I mean, I think the biggest problem is that they don't have enough people to fulfill the process. So I mean, it's, we're getting emails all over the place from our updates and asking questions, saying, hey, we're sorry, we're falling, we're delayed here on our end, even as our clients are turned off. And it's just, all the money that they're losing from people not being paused, put the money towards getting people to get on and get this all put together, or it's a verification process for a minute and make sure you have everything you need to be able to actually fulfill upon that. The current process is broke, and because so many people, I mean, that's 17.7 for us, but I mean, this has got to be tens of thousands of people, right? As you go out there and you start, having conversations with other owners and advertisers and all the folks that just within a small part of the overall Google ecosphere. I think they got to stop doing this. And then once they have a process built to do it correctly, then they can start turning it back on. But they're themselves money, they're costing a lot of heartache. And then most importantly, they are significantly negatively impacting small businesses and people.
That's why I think there must be, that's why I think a lot of questions need to be asked. And I think there needs to be, if it's forced, fine. There needs to be more transparency on this, because just in the time that we're spending here live and in the wild, I'm thinking, you already built a good process for verification for Google business profiles, formerly Google My Business pages.
Yeah.
They've had that for a long time, actually, long. And in automotive, I think maybe more so than at least other industries that I'm familiar with, they've also, had Google do a lot of things to accommodate some of the, the differences, meaning like, hey, well, our service department, right? Or we've got a body shop or a collision center, right? And so what if they share the same address, all those types of things, and they want to be able to optimize the right way and how you set up your services that you provide and all, right? So that process already exists for verification. And I guess my question to Google would be like, why isn't that good enough? Why don't you just use your existing process that seems to be one that was already very, very efficient and probably doesn't have to have a high dependency on human beings, like people. And also with the amount of AI that's literally spraying all over the place these days, you can't tell me that there isn't artificial intelligence that couldn't actually make that process better or improve it. So I like, this, extra verification is unnecessary, but so why? Like, that's now I'm like, just like, what's the why? I did want to ask you a couple more things. I Because I've been at this for a long time. How has the quality, maybe even the organization, because we've talked about that a little bit, how that's changed and they've had to lay off some people or they've let some people go, clearly affected the automotive vertical. But how's the quality of Google's support changed over time? Not just here with this now, what seems like some sort of extra verification layer weirdness, but how has it, especially, yes, in light of these recent developments, but I'd love to know your perspective over time, because I want to know, ultimately, was it a pretty radical change, or has there been a slow evolving decline, or did it do this up and down a little bit? Like, how was that?
I think it was slow, and then jumping out of a plane. Like you're getting down to 10,000 feet, and then it's time to skydive. Is kind of probably how I would best describe it. I'll say when we were half of the size we are now, we had a team of people that were we could reach out to any of the people on the team. There's 3 different people that were all on standby to help us out with anything and everything, and our client list, and we'd have great conversations, great phone calls, and we're not double the size, and we have nobody. We have people assigned to our specific stores, which we don't even have access into knowing exactly how that's mapped out. That was never communicated in the post 12,000 people layoff environment. So some of our stores, we don't even know who the person is, if there is one, if they care enough about some of the smaller accounts, as they might look at them. We have great. I've made some great friends over there. There's a lot of people that I am rooting on for the rest of their careers that are not with Google anymore. Some that are in different areas. Some of them I've reached out to. I'm not going to name names again. They tried their hardest to help us out here, and they couldn't do it. They've moved up the ladder in Google, and they weren't able to do it. And it's just, how on earth is that? Like, is that environment? The amount of red tape there and the siloing of all these different departments is, it shows a level of mismanagement that I'm a little surprised by. Or again, I might just go back to the apathetic nature in which they're kind of moving towards. But it was always pretty good. It got a little bit less good. The COVID environment, the post iOS 14.5 environment, the inventory shortages, a lot of that stuff all kind of fits together into what's changing the platform. But that is when there started becoming a little bit more friction, a little bit that from them on us to go sell more, like try to spend more money for our advertisers when they should be spending less was significant. And it created a level of uneasiness because, we're not going to do that. And we were pretty loud to them about that. Like, look, why on earth would we be spending more money when we have less units to sell? That doesn't make any sense, guys. The competition is lower right now because of that same thing. Anyone who's spending more money in that environment is being incredibly reckless for their client partners, which is when we lost our premier partner status. And like I said, we might even have it back. I don't even know, because we can't advertise that badge anymore. That badge is forever tainted for us because of that nature. And then, from there, the environment. And so a lot of people who have been Google Premier partners or might still be, don't even have a support person anymore. It was getting a little worse. And then we kind of complain about Facebook's support. In fact, I think they've gotten a little bit better. And Google's support right now is significantly worse than Facebook's worst support ever has been for us right now. That's hard to believe that I'm saying that, and that's the environment, but that is the environment now, and it's a bummer.
Did you guys ever experience this is not a new thing, but it started several years ago, where there would be Google reps that would call over the agency, leapfrog the agency, and call the advertiser directly, and the advertiser would be like, "What? Why are you calling me? Like, we have a reunion, or we use whomever." I had that happen a couple of times when I was still in the throes, in the
Just a
of what
couple.
you're
That
doing.
one
But
happened for us, and then we actually reached out and said, "Hey, like, let's go review the entire list and make sure that this doesn't happen." And that got fixed actually for us, but that did happen a couple times. And
yeah, yeah,
and you know what the recommendations were? Well, you're not spending enough. More money. Spend more money.
yeah.
The recommendations weren't designed to make them more profitable. They were designed to make them spend more money.
Yeah, I would have them with advertisers. Even on the B2B side, I would have where I was controlling a very, 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 very small keyword list because they're just so deeply niched in an industry. And then was having somebody from Google who they were from Google, but they were calling and confusing the living daylights out of the client. And then the client would be like, "Hey, Google called me," and the things they would either email or say to them if they got them on the phone kind of it was like throwing me under the bus a little bit. It was kind of like making me look like I'm not on top of it, and then I'd have to explain to my client, like, when they tell you that your optimization score is only 79 or whatever, and it could be 89 or 100 or it should be 100, the normal willfully ignorant, but they just don't know. They sell the car or they whatever business they're in, they don't know that. What I know is hey, you you don't want to do that because the only $1,500 a month you have to spend on ads, at least 750 of it now are going to go into a part that you'll get nothing from. Like, unless you want to be enamored by an impression, which is not an achievement, right? Or you want to be able to say, well, we lowered your overall cost per click. Yeah, because you dumped a bunch of that in the display network or whatever. Like, yeah, they're important details. So, well, last couple of questions I have for you. One is, do you have any advice that you would give to other agencies or businesses that are kind of facing these similar challenges?
I think education right now is what we're doing with our entire client partner list. We're sharing with everyone very openly and honestly and transparently exactly what's going on, so that they're aware of it. It's also, I think, a great opportunity to make sure that everyone is on the same page about Google's current motives and initiatives here going on. Again, we like to remind people that we've always enjoyed a great relationship, that Google's still something to spend money on and invest on. It's a good platform that works, but these are things to keep an eye on and be careful about. I mean, and so I think education, we've shown. I mean, fortunately, that open letter to Google got some really great public response from a lot of people in the space who are loud, and some big companies who are sharing that they experience the same thing. So I think also sharing that, look, this is happening to a lot of other agencies and companies. Check out that post, and you can go see and copy and paste. Some of these many people who have been loud also and saying they're experiencing the same thing. I'm so thankful for those people too. I'm so thankful for the courage from everyone to go out there and say that, because Google, I mean, people I think have always been a little fearful that what if they just pull the plug? But I think education, I mean, just sharing what's going on, and I mean, that almost always is the best way to go about things. Open, honest, transparent, vulnerable. Those kind of environments are what create the best relationships, and ultimately, in this case, like, the best results.
I definitely think there's more to the story. As much as sometimes I want to be like, fine, poke the bear, right? Whatever. You and I both can say, well, I've always liked Google, and we people from Google that have been very great, supportive. There's actually a lot of people that have worked in the automotive division for Google that I think if they were being honest, they would say, well, the Dave Spannakes, the Shaun Rainses, I won't name other people, but would say that they learned from, they appreciated us, what we were doing in the industry, the helpfulness that people like us provided as they kind of went from, we don't even know this vertical to over many, many years. Man, we really know this vertical and got very deeply involved. And so I think that the initial response is, I want to hope for the best, and I want them to maybe just disclose more in transparency of like, well, this is kind of what's going on, and it's going to be another thing because because sometimes big companies like that, something new changes, they push something out, they don't make a big announcement about it. Google makes lots of changes, they push things out and pull things back and change things whenever they want, and they're entitled to do so. But I'm hoping, my fingers are crossed, that there's just more to the story. We haven't heard it quite yet, and that we will very, very soon. That it will remedy kind of the issues. I honestly think they need to be in that place where if they have a lot of partners, premier partners, not even anywhere in the partner platform, if they have a lot of agencies offering their services, no matter the vertical, but in this case, automotive, and they don't necessarily, do the very best, or they're just okay, just put it into their big system and, that's it, right? So you get just kind of good enough, right? I think that it's on them to say, you can continue to use an agency like that. It just might be easier, right? It might be easier for you to throw all of your digital marketing into the same invoice that you pay to your website provider. And you just might not care that somebody else could actually get 30% more for your budget, right? Or maybe it's 20% or whatever. And that's okay. I think that because we're in a free market society, for how long but I think because we're in that position in our country, I think that's what Google should continue to do. It's like, hey, if you decide that you want to go and you're going to use somebody like Reunion Marketing, go right ahead. And Google should make that available, knowing that somebody that does their homework and does their research made the choice to use Reunion because of the value that Reunion, or the people that are your peers and competitors, but everybody's pretty friendly, that if their unique value to that advertiser is, well, this is how we do this is how we do this, or your kind of unique spin on it, they choose you. There shouldn't be a punishment. There shouldn't be well, now you're not going to have everything that we can give you through our platform. It's open. If you found that, it should be rewarded. Like, that's just the way that it should be. So I'm hopeful that there's a part of the story we don't know yet, and it will be remedied quickly. Last question I have for you is kind of a CEO to CEO. Would your message be to other CEOs or the leaders in these businesses that are trying to navigate these current Google challenging times?
I mean, I think for me, I think the one of my biggest responsibilities is to our partners who have been so good over time to loudly that. I mean, this is an uncomfortable environment for me to be so loudly angry over something. I mean, I'm not, you know me, I'm not an angry person at all. I mean, the opposite, right? But this is one that, I think that, when you backed into a corner and there's no other way out. This is one of those times where that's the case. And very few times have I ever felt like this. And, I think that, a few people have reached out to me, people, consultants or other, our own clients that are like, thank you so much for going out there and doing that, being loud for me. And I think in some cases when things are just they're the thing, and you have the opportunity to stand up for what is right. I mean, it's just always lean into your gut. I mean, that's most CEOs that I know, their guts are right often, and they're good people. And so when there's happening and you have an opportunity to fight good, then do it. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great message. And I think it's a great place for us to end the show. We kind of landed on that point. And I always end these particular episodes because it is the namesake of this podcast. Now you know what's going on with Dave Spannhake.